Every rule in home maintenance says that limescale requires a professional, that descaling a boiler is a specialist job, that the white crust building up inside your pipes is a complex problem requiring expensive intervention. Every rule says that, and every rule falls apart the moment you read one line of chemistry. Acetic acid dissolves calcium carbonate. That is it. That is the entire complexity behind the $300 plumber visit, the $12 branded Descalaire, the $400 boiler flush, and the $191 billion industry that would rather you never Googled what limescale actually is, because what limescale actually is limestone. The same rock that vinegar has been dissolving since Babylonian scribes first recorded it 7,000 years ago. Every rule in home maintenance says you need help. One line of chemistry says you need $2. The oldest written reference to vinegar comes from Babylonian records dating to approximately 5000 BC. The substance was not invented, it was discovered. Someone left a vessel of date wine open too long. Airborne bacteria landed on the surface. The bacteria, which we now classify as Acetobacter, converted the ethanol in the wine into acetic acid. The wine soured. The liquid that remained was vinegar. The Babylonians did not understand the microbiology. They did not need to. They understood the result. The sour liquid cleaned surfaces. It preserved food. It dissolved mineral deposits in their clay water vessels. They recorded these uses on tablets. 7,000 years later, the chemistry has not changed by a single atom. Acetic acid still donates a hydrogen ion to calcium carbonate. The bond still breaks. The calcium dissolves into calcium acetate, which is water-soluble. Carbon dioxide escapes as gas. The solid becomes a liquid. The scale disappears. This is not a theory. It is not a hypothesis. It is a proton transfer reaction published in every general chemistry textbook printed in the last 2 centuries. The archive opens in 218 BC on a mountain pass in the Western Alps. A Carthaginian general named Hannibal Barca is marching 50,000 soldiers, 9,000 cavalry, and 37 North African war elephants toward Italy. The Roman historian Titus Livius, known as Livy, documented what happened next in Ab Urbe Condita, Book 21, chapters 36 and 37. Massive limestone boulders blocked the narrow alpine passes. The elephants could not get through. Hannibal's engineers built fires against the rock face and kept them burning until the limestone glowed red. Then they poured vinegar over the heated stone. Livy's exact words, translated from Latin, read when the rock was red hot. They poured vinegar upon it to disintegrate it. The thermal shock combined with the acid, dissolving the calcium carbonate along fracture lines, split the boulders apart. The army passed through. The elephants survived. Hannibal descended into the Po Valley and spent the next 15 years fighting Rome on its own soil. Historians have debated for centuries whether Livy's account is literal or embellished. Modern geologists who have studied the specific limestone formations along the likely route through the Col de la Traversette have confirmed that acetic acid applied to thermally stressed limestone would absolutely accelerate fracturing. The chemistry is not in question. Only the scale of the operation is debated. But the point is this: 22 centuries ago, a general used vinegar to crack a mountain. And in the 21st century, 85% of American homeowners are calling a plumber to deal with the same mineral on a showerhead. 85%? That figure comes directly from the United States Geological Survey. 85% of homes in the United States receive hard water, which means water containing elevated levels of dissolved calcium and magnesium. When that water is heated, the dissolved calcium precipitates out of solution and bonds to the nearest surface as calcium carbonate. That is limescale. It forms on heating elements inside water heaters. It forms on the interior walls of pipes. It forms inside dishwashers, washing machines, coffee makers, kettles, and boiler heat exchangers. And as it accumulates, it acts as an insulating layer between the heating element and the water. In 2009, the Battelle Memorial Institute in Columbus, Ohio, published the results of a study commissioned by the Water Quality Research Foundation. Battelle is one of the most respected independent research organizations in the United States. They tested 30 water heaters over a 90-day protocol using controlled water hardness levels. The results were not ambiguous. Gas storage water heaters running on hard water at 26 grains per gallon lost up to 24% of their rated energy efficiency. Each 5 grains per gallon of hardness caused a 4% loss. The math is linear and merciless. The harder your water, the more energy your heater wastes. At current electricity and gas prices across the United States, that translates to roughly $150 to $250 per year in wasted energy per household. But the Battelle study found something even more alarming about tankless water heaters. The units marketed as the premium, efficient, modern alternative. Tankless units operating on hard water completely failed to function after just 1.6 years. The scale plugged the downstream plumbing so severely that the units could not maintain flow. A $1,000 appliance destroyed in under 2 years by a mineral that a $2 jug of vinegar dissolves on contact. British Water, the trade association for the UK water treatment industry, published a separate finding. Every 1 millimeter of limescale buildup on a heating element increases energy consumption by 7%. 1 millimeter. That is thinner than a credit card. Most households in hard water areas accumulate several millimeters within a year. A 3 millimeter layer is a 21% energy penalty. You're paying a fifth more to heat your water because of a deposit that dissolves when you pour grocery store vinegar on it. Hippocrates, the Greek physician who practiced around 400 BC, used vinegar to irrigate open wounds. He documented the procedure. The acetic acid killed bacteria on the wound surface and prevented infection. This was 23 centuries before germ theory. In 1864, Louis Pasteur demonstrated that vinegar production was a biological fermentation process driven by Acetobacter bacteria converting ethanol to acetic acid. He did not invent vinegar, he explained it. But his explanation did something unexpected. It gave industrial chemistry a framework to synthesize acetic acid in a laboratory, which meant that the same molecule that nature produced for free in any open wine barrel could now be manufactured, concentrated, branded, and sold at a markup. And that is exactly what happened. In 1976, a salesman, an ad executive, and a warehouse full of product launched a brand called CLR in the United States. The letters stood for calcium, lime, and rust. The product worked. The active ingredients were acids that dissolved mineral deposits, the same category of chemical reaction that vinegar performs, packaged in a plastic bottle with professional labeling and a recommended retail price that was, and remains, roughly 6 to 10 times higher than an equivalent volume of white vinegar. CLR is now sold in major retailers across North America. The company's website describes the brand's origin story with pride, 50 years of market presence. Meanwhile, Reckitt Benckiser, a multinational consumer goods conglomerate formed in 1999, sells Limeaway, another branded descaler. Reckitt reported annual revenue exceeding £14 billion in recent years. The global descaler market is valued at approximately $500 million and is projected to reach $720 million by 2032. $500 million. For a product category whose active function, dissolving calcium carbonate, is performed by a liquid that costs $2.14 at Walmart and has been performing that function since 5000 BC. The branded descalers are not fraudulent. Many contain hydrochloric acid or phosphoric acid, which are stronger acids that work faster on severe buildup. That is a real advantage in extreme cases. But for routine maintenance, for the showerhead that sprays sideways, for the kettle with the white crust, for the faucet aerator that dribbles instead of flows, white vinegar at 5% acetic acid concentration does the job. The American Chemical Society demonstrates this reaction to school children using an egg. The shell of a chicken egg is calcium carbonate. Submerge it in vinegar. Wait 48 hours. The shell dissolves completely. The membrane remains intact. The egg bounces. It is the most popular home chemistry experiment in American education. And somehow, the same adults who watched that egg dissolve in 6th grade are now paying a plumber $300 to address the same compound on a different surface. The plumbing industry in the United States generated an estimated $191 billion in revenue in 2026, according to IBIS World. The average emergency plumber call-out fee ranges from $150 to $350 per hour, according to Angie. A routine descaling visit for a combination boiler in the United Kingdom costs between £200 and £450, depending on the severity and the region. A significant portion of residential plumbing calls relate to reduced water pressure, slow heating, noisy boilers, and failing appliances. A significant portion of those symptoms are caused by limescale, and a significant portion of that limescale would not exist if the homeowner had poured a $2 jug of heated vinegar through the system once every 6 months. Nobody in the plumbing industry tells you this, not because they are conspiring, but because the economic structure does not reward prevention. A plumber who teaches every customer to descale with vinegar is a plumber who sees that customer half as often. A boiler manufacturer who includes a vinegar maintenance schedule in the user manual is a manufacturer whose units last longer, which means fewer replacements sold. An appliance company that prints Descal with white vinegar every 90 days on the water heater is an appliance company whose customers stop buying branded descaling kits at $12.99 a bottle. The entire service and maintenance economy around hard water is built on a simple foundation. The homeowner does not know what limescale is, and nobody who profits from limescale has any financial reason to tell them. Roman soldiers drank pasca, a mixture of vinegar and water, as their standard field beverage. It was rationed alongside grain. The acetic acid killed waterborne pathogens and made unclean water survivable. An entire empire's military logistics ran partly on vinegar's antibacterial properties. Published research in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences confirms that acetic acid at concentrations as low as 6% kills Mycobacterium tuberculosis within 30 minutes of contact. A 2025 study published in collaboration with nanotechnology researchers demonstrated that vinegar enhanced with cobalt-based carbon nanoparticles eliminated 99.995% of MRSA bacteria in mouse models. The $2 liquid is not a folk remedy. It is a broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent with a publication trail stretching from Hippocrates to modern nanomedicine. So here's what you actually do. For a showerhead, unscrew it or wrap a plastic bag filled with undiluted white vinegar around it and secure it with a rubber band. Leave it overnight. In the morning, the calcium carbonate will have converted to calcium acetate and rinsed away. For a kettle, fill it halfway with equal parts water and white vinegar. Boil once. Let it sit for 30 minutes. The scale will loosen and wipe off. For a coffee maker, run a full cycle of half vinegar, half water through the brew cycle. Follow with 2 cycles of plain water. For faucet aerators, unscrew them and soak in a cup of vinegar for 2 hours. For a toilet bowl ring, pour 2 cups of vinegar into the bowl before bed. In the morning, brush and flush. For a washing machine, run an empty hot cycle with 2 cups of vinegar in the drum. For a dishwasher, place a cup of vinegar upright on the top rack and run an empty hot cycle. For a water heater, the procedure requires slightly more attention, but is still within the capability of any homeowner who can operate a garden hose. You turn off the power or gas supply. You connect a hose to the drain valve at the base of the unit. You drain several gallons. You introduce a vinegar solution through the pressure relief valve or on tankless units through the isolation valves using a small recirculating pump and a 5-gallon bucket, a setup that costs roughly $40 and is reusable indefinitely. You circulate the vinegar for 45 minutes. You flush with clean water. You restore power. Total cost of materials under $5. Time invested, about an hour. The Battelle study showed that water heaters maintained on softened water, meaning water with the calcium removed, retained their original factory efficiency for the entire 15-year service life. Vinegar descaling is not water softening, but it achieves the same outcome on the heating element. It removes the insulating layer. It restores efficiency. It extends lifespan. And it costs what a large coffee costs. Now, let me be precise about one thing. Vinegar is not a universal solution for all limescale in all conditions. Severe scale buildup inside old iron pipes may require professional mechanical descaling. Combi boiler heat exchangers in the UK that have not been serviced in a decade may need a professional power flush with a stronger acid. In certain surfaces, natural stone countertops, marble, travertine, and unsealed grout should never be exposed to vinegar because the acid will etch them. Those surfaces are also calcium carbonate. The vinegar will dissolve them just as enthusiastically as it dissolves limescale. That is not a failure of vinegar. It is proof that the chemistry works exactly as described and does not discriminate between the limescale you want to remove and the marble you want to keep. Know your surfaces. Vinegar is a tool. Like any tool, it requires the operator to understand where to use it and where not to. But for the 85% of American homes and 60% of British homes dealing with hard water scale on appliances, fixtures, glass kettles, showerheads, and water heaters, a $2 gallon of white distilled vinegar, heated to approximately 60 degrees Celsius for faster reaction times, applied for 30 minutes to 2 hours depending on severity, will dissolve the calcium carbonate. That is not an opinion. It is not a hack. It is not a grandmother's tale that might work. It is a chemical equation that has been valid since the formation of acetic acid molecules in the universe. The Babylonians documented it. Hippocrates used it on wounds. Hannibal cracked the Alps with it. Pasteur explained the biology behind it. Battelle measured the energy cost of ignoring it. An $191 billion industry would prefer that you never connect those dots. The chemistry teacher in Leeds knew. The grandmother who wiped her kettle with vinegar every Sunday knew. The Roman legionnaire drinking Pascha from a clay cup in Gaul knew. The Carthaginian engineer pouring vinegar over red-hot limestone in the Alps definitely knew. The molecule has not changed. The reaction has not changed. The only thing that changed is who profits from your ignorance of it. Every 1 millimeter of limescale on your heating element is 7% more energy you pay for. Every call-out fee is a chemical reaction you could have performed yourself. Every branded Descalaire is a markup on a molecule your pantry already contains. 1 line of chemistry, $2, 7,000 years of proof. The rest is an invoice. If this changed how you see the white crust in your home, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Every share preserves what the maintenance industry would rather you never learn. The next vault opens soon.